Good night, good night, good night. Good night, St. Michael South, good night. Good night to the people of Chelston, good night. I must say that I am very, very, very happy to be here this evening. And I want to thank each and every one of you that came out to hear our message. And those of you who have stayed, the many of you, it seems as if everybody has stayed, so you owe yourselves a round of applause too. You know, I want to thank all the speakers who went before me. You know, St. Michael South has a team, they call themselves Team Kirk, that is the best team in the Barbados Labour Party. And everybody knows how I love my team. And everybody knows how my team loves me. I want to thank all of the speakers who came before me, especially my local speakers. Wawa, Juanita, as you know her. Charlene, who did a fantastic job as well. Danny, who spoke brilliantly. My campaign manager, Mark. You know, at another meeting, I will tell you all about the relationship between Mark and myself and how pleased I am that Mark is here, but not tonight. Of course, I want to thank Roshana as well. And Roshana is a powerhouse. And then the candidates who spoke as well. You know, there's something special happening here because we are closer than you think. I was born in St. Michael East, Trevor said it. And so was Marsha. And Trevor represents St. Michael East. And I grew up in the Pine, which is St. Michael Southeast. And Santia represents St. Michael Southeast now too. So we are like one little St. Michael family, bringing all this love to St. Michael South. So I want to thank the people of Chelston for having us here. Because people have to invite you into their place. You can't just walk into people's houses. And so all the people that knew we were having a spot meeting that said, Mr. Humphrey, I'm looking forward to having the Barbados Labour Party. Thank you too. And I came tonight to give a very simple message. I really did. I came tonight to tell you that I am at home in St. Michael South. And that no matter what they say or they do, or whatever they try, nothing will separate me now from St. Michael South, period. Period. And I feel at home here. And you know, I grew up in the Pine. Santia said it. And the Pine and St. Michael South, I mean, they're almost the same. The issues are the same. The people are the same. The struggles are the same. We are one community. I used to say we are divided by a street. But now I realize that we are joined by a street. And that we are just one people. And that the issues are exactly the same. I feel so at home here. And I grew up in a house much like the houses over here. My mother had 8 children. I was the 7th. And 9 of us lived in a house in the Pine, a housing scheme. And as a young boy, I learned 2 values early that have carried me my whole life. The first is that you have to fight hard, work hard for everything you want, because nobody can give you anything just so or for free. And my mother was a proud, hard-working woman, and she didn't want to see me out there struggling on the streets as she had to struggle. She said, Kurt, you got to work hard for what you want. And the second thing that I learned is that even though you have to work hard for what you want, you must always look out for the other guy. Look out for your brothers and for your sisters. And look out for your neighbors. And look out for your whole community. So I've learned to work hard. And I've learned to do so for people, in the interest of people. And it has been my whole life. People over politics. Period. And, you know, I went to Wilkie Cumberbatch. That's my primary school. The motto at Wilkie Cumberbatch was, we persevere, we succeed. And I left Wilkie and I went to the St. Michael's School. And the motto there was, nothing without help from God. And so I've joined those two things together, saying that if I work hard, if I persevere, with the help of God, that I would succeed. And I think about that, and I hear the same word in the Bible, that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I stand here by the glory of God. And I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And the one thing that I want to do, I tell you, is to represent the people of St. Michael's South. Because for the last 10 years, they have had absolutely no representation. It is a shameful thing. It is bordering on sin. It is a shameful thing. And so that is all I want to do, which is to serve people. And I have been blessed my whole life. You know, when I walk around Chelston and Bredinsill and Baylan and other parts of St. Michael's South, I see people who remind me of the people that loved me or cared for me when I was growing up. You know, when I was growing up, there was a woman called V who didn't have much. And V said to me, Kirk, any day that you are hungry, stop in my house and you will eat. Nobody ain't got to know. And V looked out for me. And there was a man called Phantom, a muscle man, a good man, who I used to take out his sheep every morning and bring them back on evenings. And the first kite that I ever got in my life, new kite, it was a bat kite. I got it from Phantom. Because up to that point, I made all my kites. You know, back then, I used to get the brooms made of coconut sticks. I used to shackle out my mother broom and make a little kite for myself. But Phantom gave me my first kite. And then there were so many other people who showed me love growing up. I mean, every single day. I am so thankful to those people who cared for me. And I see it every time I pass through St. Michael's South and in Chelston. Do not let anybody tell you that you are not special, because you are. And money cannot buy the kind of love and community spirit that resides here. This is something that money cannot buy. And I am asking you for a chance to be part of it. An opportunity to be part of it. Because it means so much to me. And because you mean so much to me, I am only asking you for that simple opportunity to serve you. Thank you. You know, St. Michael's South has a voters list now. I think the new one came out. It's over 7,000 people. And people are counting names and counting numbers and saying you need to get this number to get past the post. And I ain't in that. I want to know 7,000 people. I don't want to count the numbers to get past the post. I want to know everybody. Because I came to serve people not just to win an election, but we're going to win the election. But I came to serve people not just to win an election. And my whole life has been one of service. I am not coming to politics to pretend to care about people. I have cared about people my whole life. I come to politics to continue caring for people. To bring that level of care at the highest level. And that is the reason that I am here. So when I was young, very young, like 12, young. You know, they call me a young man in the Barbados Labour Party, but most of the people who spoke here tonight younger than me. Santia, Marsha, Rochana, Charlene, young people. The Barbados Labour Party has a lot of young people, the future safe. But there were so many things that influenced me, people who poured into my spirit, that I felt I had an obligation to pour back into people too. So when I was a young boy, like 12 years old, people would come to my house or I would go to their house to help other children with their homework. Because people helped me. And so I did that. And nobody had to pay me because there were people who helped me with mine. And when I became a little bit older than 12, you know, and I continued my community work, I joined a community group and I started a full education program with them, helping people in my community because we have to help one another. When I decided that I wanted to get myself involved in political life, I joined the branch and I became president of that branch. But I said when I was president that it cannot just be about politics because we're wasting time. It has to be about the community, and that a political group must serve as a community organization, man, in the interest of people. And so I had my branch putting down garbage cans all over the place, doing cleanups, and taking hampers and food stuff to people who needed them. Because politics must not only be about getting a vote, it must be about helping the people who are in need of help. And then I decided after I finished university, and I had some options. I mean, at first I tell myself I can go and get a job and make some money because, you know, when you're struggling for a long time, you want a little dollar. But my heart would not let me. And so I decided that instead of studying business, I would do my master's in social policy so I could understand poverty and what it is that is keeping poor people poor. I do not know anybody who worked as hard as my mother. And as hard as she worked, she could not get out of poverty. So something told me that poverty is bigger and deeper, perhaps even more structural, than the individual consequences that people have to bear. My mother is a decent person. So are the many people who live in Chelston and who work very hard and cannot get themselves out of poverty. I decided that I had to understand it. And so I chose a career in social policy. And thankfully for me, I had the opportunity to be manager of the child care board and help the nation's children. I had the opportunity to be the director of social policy and draft the poverty reduction strategies for Barbados. And I had the opportunity to be director of the constituency councils and work at the community level trying to help people. So everything that I have done, every single thing, has been to help poor people. And I will never stop, never stop. So that's why you win. So if the people should favor me and decide that I should be the person better suited to represent them, and I hope that they do. I trust that they will. I will continue to serve the people. And the day after election is a holiday for me. The day after election is the first day of work for me, man. As a member of parliament and as your representative. But that is why I am here. And at the end of the day, everything we do must be in the interest of people. It must be, or nothing else makes sense. You know, the Prime Minister likes to say that he is not losing sleep over anything. Anything can happen in Barbados, I ain't losing the sleep. Google Frandel Stewart and don't worry. And you will get 1 million hits. I don't worry about this, I don't worry about that. He ain't worrying about you. But I have to worry about you. Because when you care about somebody, and when they're being taxed, and when they're being treated this way, and when people cannot feed their children, and when people have to decide, like we living in sub-Saharan Africa 20, 30 years ago, today I can send school my daughter, and tomorrow I can send school my son. When people are living like that, you have to worry. Because they did not elect you to sit on some goalpost and quote Shakespeare. They want to know that you care and that you have a heart for their struggles. Look, I just read an article by the president of the World Bank talking about the things that keep him up at night. Well, if things keep him up, why is Prime Minister so special that nothing could keep him up? Things keep me up. Listen to me. Whenever it rains, no matter what time it is, whenever it rains, man, I feel it. Because I know there's so many people whose roofs are leaking. I had a friend, Alicia, whenever it rained, she had to crouch in the smallest part of her house, the only place that don't leak. I have to stay up at night and think about that. And if the rain falls a little bit more, there are school children on the bus who get wet on the bus because the bus leaking. I have to think about that too. And the bus drivers, they get wet too. And it bothers me because my mother was a conductress on a bus. And my father was a bus driver. So the issues that are happening at Transport Board bother me personally, man. When I saw a video of a hoist in the Transport Board rusting and falling apart, and that men have to go under that hoist because they want to make $1 and threaten their own lives every day because they won't repair the thing, the weight of the buses probably eventually will cause the hoist to break. And people have to go under that. Well, then I have to stay up at night and think about that too. We'll let him dream, and we will work. And at the end of the day, we will see the victory because it's us who care about the people. But this cannot continue forever. It really cannot. And you know, St. Michael's South is perhaps the darkest place in Barbados. It is one of the darkest constituencies in Barbados. You just got to walk it. And there are children who come home from school now late. Late because they can't get a bus. And they have to walk through the darkness. And there are women who have to walk through the darkness, and men may not fully understand it. The fear that a woman has when she has to walk through the dark. Or the fear that a child has if it has to walk through the dark. Because you have a privilege being a man. It's a fact. But women feel it. And our children feel it. And we have to bring light to the darkness that is St. Michael's South. There are many things for us to do. There is a lot of work to be done in St. Michael's South. Not yet. Not yet. I'm going to get a little bit heavier. The Lord blessing me now. There's a lot of work to be done in St. Michael's South. Many, many things still undone. 10 years. You know, there's a road in Beckles Road. This is as insulting as it can get. Beckles Road 1 and 2. Which is right behind the Prime Minister's office. Beckles Hill, sorry. Right behind the Prime Minister's office. He literally looks through his window and sees the road. It is one of the worst roads in the whole of St. Michael's South. And in 2008, the promise was made to the people in Beckles Hill that if we win this government, I can fix your road. And in 2013, when he returned, he said, as Prime Minister, no. Well, now that I am Prime Minister, he doesn't say it like this. He probably said it, a little bit more lofty. Now that I am the Prime Minister, I will attend to your road. But would you believe it is now 2018 and that road is still not fixed? And he sees it every single day. And he only sees it because his office is there, Not because he comes in St. Michael's South, because he doesn't. He pays no regard to the people of St. Michael's South. St. Michael's South deserves better. And better is on the way, trust me. I do what I do for people. I understand people perhaps differently from other people. I see people in all their differences as a resource. I was saying very recently, we are all little threads in the fabric of humanity. Intricately woven into the finest tapestry that is life. And that everybody, with all of their differences, have a role to play in the development of this country. I talk to everybody. And everybody is a resource. There is another man I met. He told me, Kirk, when I met him, he was taking care of his house. He was cleaning his house. It was a very clean house. He said to me, you know, Kirk, I am a recovering drug addict. 4 years and every day I'm still recovering. And he told me, you know, it's been the hardest thing. And that when he first started doing drugs, he said, there are some things I will not do. And then the next day he finds himself doing those things. And then he says, there's something else I won't do. And he found himself doing that too, to the point where he would do anything to get a hold of these drugs, because he was an addict. And he said to me, I said, if you had any advice for young people, what would you tell them? He said, Kirk, I would tell them, don't take the first, man. Don't hit that one. Don't get that first fix. Because once you start, you can't stop. He is a resource. Can you imagine how he could move young people, telling them his story? And you know, I spoke to him a little bit more. And I said to myself, you know, his lesson is not only for young people. We talked about the fact that, you know, could you imagine owning a pair of shoes worth $300 that you love? And that you would do anything to keep these shoes, but your habit is so strong, you sell your shoes for $30. And that by the end of the night, you've sold the shoes so you don't have any shoes. You had the money, but you use it to buy drugs, so you ain't got no money. So you have nothing. All you have is a bad habit still. Well, I thought about that, and the truth is, it reminded me of the government. The way we are operating now. You have an asset like the Hilton, valued at $100,000 by them, but we know it's worth more than $100,000. And they are preparing to sell the Hilton for $80 million. It is worth $100 million. Y'all hear what he's saying? It is worth $100 million or more. And they are preparing to sell it for $80 million. And the latest reports coming out in relation to our economic position tells us that we are spending as much as $72 million US in foreign reserves every month. So if you sell it for $80 million because you got a bad habit, but you spending $72 million every month, well, when you don't spend the $80 million at the end of the month because you're spending $72 million on your bad habit, what you got? You don't have the Hilton. You don't have the money. And all you have is a bad habit. So there are lessons from a person who's strung out on drugs to be learned by the government. And the reality is that everybody is a resource, and that we must not exclude anybody from this development process. So when people see me walking with people, don't come and tell me nothing about the man, or don't come and tell me nothing about the woman. I don't gossip. I don't get involved in nobody's business. Where you see a stone, I see a jewel. And that there are many diamonds in the rough in Chelston. There are many diamonds in the rough in the Bayland and in Britain's Hill as there were in the Pine. There are many in Beccles Hill and Beccles Road, Braffett's Gap. And I intend to work with them, man. Because when we get this country right, it will take everybody doing their part to move us from where we are to that place that we now have to go. We cannot do it on our own. The 30 of us, whoever the 30 may be, that will occupy the parliament, cannot do it on our own. It has to be the people, for the people, in the name of the people, because of the people. At the end of the day, why else are we here? If not for the interests of people. So this is not, this is not rocket science. And people are making it sound like to fix this country is rocket science. It is not rocket science. I mean, we're not saying to the leaders that we need them to walk on water as if they're walking on the street. We are simply saying we do not want to walk in sewage when we are walking on the street. We have set the bar so low for the government. And every time we lower our expectations, this government finds a way to live down to our expectations. We have to raise the bar. Barbados has to do better than Barbados is currently doing. At the end of the day, Barbados must judge itself by its own standards. Do not tell me that you went to Paris and you saw garbage. I don't care what you see in Paris. Do not tell me you know in Florida they got sewage on the street. I don't care what you know about in Florida. I care about Barbados. And the Barbadians that are suffering for the last 10 years, tell me about them. Have a conversation with your own people, not with the tourists that you gather every now and then at Ilaro Court. Talk to your people if you plan to talk. And you know, there is something that bothers me so much. You know, Frandel likes to refer to himself as a sleeping giant. The other day he said he was a big day racehorse. Who talks about themselves like that? I mean, if I come and tell you as a big day racehorse, I mean, in all seriousness, who talks about himself like that? But there is a deeper meaning though. Because he will sleep for 5 years while you suffer for 5 years. He sleeps on a bed of comfort and you can't sleep on a bed of nails and taxes. But he will do nothing for 5 years is what he's saying. And that he can only show up on the race day is what he's saying. You don't think you deserve better than this? I know you deserve better than this. So look, at the end of the day, we have a choice. At the end of the day, we have a choice, and to my mind, the choice is clear. And what we really need in Barbados is leadership. And I am telling you that Mia Amor Motley is the leadership that Barbados needs. I am telling you that Mia Amor Motley is the leadership that Barbados needs. Mia has so much vision. Look, I will bring it home now, but let me tell you a story. Everybody knows how bright Mia is. And everybody knows how experienced Mia Motley is. But a few years ago, because I don't get impressed by them things, you know. I know a lot of bright people. None as bright as Mia, I must confess. But a few years ago, we were in Baxter's Road. We went to have a little fish. And Mia and I having a conversation about something. I can't remember what, but we were talking about Barbados as we do. And in the middle of the conversation, Mia just went quiet, as if she had gone off on a little daydream. So when Mia came back into the conversation, Mia said to me, "Kirk, do you think people should have to leave their houses at night to come and sell fish in conditions like these?" Nobody was around. She was not talking for the crowd. But Mia has a heart for people. That is why I support Mia Motley. That is why I am asking you to support Mia Motley. That is why I know Mia will make the best Prime Minister Barbados has ever had, because she cares about people. So in the end, we have a choice. It is fairly clear to me, but in the end, we have a choice. And there are things that we must do now. We have to rectify what we're doing with our foreign reserves. We do. But at the end of the day, everything we do must be about serving people, in the interest of people. We have to put people first. The Barbados Labour Party, I was just told, is the better loving party. We have to do it for the people. And I know that Barbados does not feel like Barbados. I know Barbados no longer looks like Barbados. And I know there are many places where Barbados no longer smells like Barbados too. But I have hope. Because my leader said that a train is coming. And the destination on that train is prosperity. The destination of that train is progress. The destination of that train is hope. So I have one question for you. Are you all aboard? Are you all aboard? Well, if you are all aboard, you know what you have to do. Vote for Mia Motley. Vote for Santi and for Marsha and for Trevor. And of course, vote for Kirk Humphrey too. Vote for the Barbados Labour Party. Vote for the restoration of this country. Vote for your children's future that is now at stake, man. Vote with your heart. And we will take care of you and of this country. Vote for the Barbados Labour Party. Chelston, thank you for having me. St. Michael South, thank you for having me. May the good Lord bless each and every one of you. Thank you so very much. Thank you.